man, all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 25. Hearsay. Wanda tugged her hand with some fear, worried that Chen Tian would dislike them. However, she thought more. Chen Tian just took out the cash and said coldly, "Do you sell it? Don't listen to good words." The female cashier rolled her eyes and turned around to soak 3 bowls of instant noodles. Seeing this, Wanda had some good feelings for Chen Tian. After all, she had been here for so long, and everyone else was cold-eyed. But Chen Tian always had a warm smile on her face, which made her feel indescribable in her heart. The 3 of them sat down at the table by the window, and quickly served the noodles. The 2 brothers and sisters looked at the hot and fragrant noodles, swallowed and eagerly took a large mouthful of food. The hot noodles were eaten. And the body that was chilled by the cold wind was also instantly warmed. Wanda took a small bite of noodles, looked up at the tall big brother opposite, and a pair of sapphire-like clear and beautiful eyes were full of gratitude. "Thank you." Hands up. Chen Tian looked at the girl in front of him, and the hatred in the heart of the Crimson Witch in this period was far less intense than that behind. She is still just a weak girl, her delicate face is like a ceramic doll stained with a little mud, and she comes to the United States to seek revenge on Stark. What a naive idea, the other party is the leader of the Stark group. Moreover, there is a misunderstanding here. The girl on the opposite side saw that he had been staring at her, a little embarrassed, and then remembered something. She hurriedly opened the bag she took off, took out a book wrapped in a parchment roll, and said softly, "Thank you. My name is Wanda, he is my brother Pete, this is a thank you gift." Quote. Between words, Wanda's voice was a little weak, and her eyes flashed pitifully, for fear that Chen Tian would dislike it. This is one of the few things in her that can be called a family possession. "My name is Chen Tian." Chen Tian took the gift, looked at the 16-year-old girl in front of him, who was as cute as a cat, and couldn't help but reach out and touch her head. Being made such an intimate gesture by the boy, Wanda's slender eyelashes couldn't bear to shake, lowered her eyes, did not dare to look at Chen Tian again, and her cheeks covered by sludge quickly stained a layer of redness. Chen Tian, who was sitting opposite, had the ability to feel the girl's mood swings at this time, but he didn't expect to win favor so easily. The silly girl was fooled with a bowl of noodles. And Pete next to him was burying his head in eating noodles, not knowing that his sister was being eaten by others. Click. Then, the convenience store door was pushed open. Laura walked in, her gaze fell on Chen Tian's hand rubbing Wanda's head, and her brows couldn't help but wrinkle slightly. Logan followed by Rogan. Seeing this, Hawlett seemed to see his younger self, and a mocking smile was outlined at the corner of his mouth. "Chen, after driving for a day, you actually still have energy." Quote. "Uncle Wolf, I'm not as merry as you." Chen Tian withdrew his hand casually and shrugged. Wanda, who was sitting opposite, lowered her head and continued to suck and eat noodles. "Fill up the oil and we can go." Logan paid and urged, "Sir, where are you going?" Pete's eyes moved when he heard this, and he immediately swallowed the food in his mouth and asked, "We're going in the direction of Canada." Chen Tian replied. Hearing this, Pete turned his head and exchanged a look with Wanda. Wanda pursed her lips and pleaded, "Chen, can you take us along the way? We'll get off when we get to New York." "No problem," Chen Tian promised very crisply. He knew that the brother and sister would go to New York to seek revenge on Stark, but they did not expose it. Originally, Logan refused. They were being chased and killed by the Akali Genetic Institute, and it was easy to implicate others, but seeing that Chen Tian insisted on taking someone, he no longer refuted. Anyway, 2 more people in the pickup truck just happened to sit down. The Pete Wanda brothers and sisters were naturally happy to see that there was a car to sit in, and they were naturally very happy after walking for a few days, and Wanda, who seemed to be extremely guarded, easily removed his disguise after a short time with him and sat in the back seat of the big pickup truck together. It's just that Laura is a little sullen and incompatible with the optimistic Wanda brother and sister atmosphere. However, after Chen Tian drove the pickup truck away, he did not know that a black SUV drove out behind the gas station. Sitting in the co-pilot was a burly man with muscles like the roots of an old tree. Spears sent out to capture Chen Tian's crossbone bullock. Rumlow. Rumlow took out the walkie-talkie and made a low, hoarse voice. The people behind followed, and the target began to walk away. The words fell. The vehicle engine hummed, and instantly accelerated towards the direction where Chen Tian and his group left. Chapter 32. You don't seem to be figuring it out. Hydra's encirclement. Dense forest paths flanked by trees blown by the wind and leaves rustle. A large pickup truck whizzed past, and 2 plumes of smoke fluttered behind the tire rolling. Chen Tian chose this more remote path for safety, and he survived in the United States for so many years. Just in case, he almost figured out the path between major cities. At this time, the midday sun shines through the canopy on both sides and is divided into scattered points of light on the car body. Chen Tian took the steering wheel, thinking in his heart about what to do later. The Wanda siblings and Laura sitting in the last row had long been asleep, and Uncle Wolf in the passenger seat was wearing glasses and tinkering with his mobile phone. "Chen, I felt a familiar aura in you last night." At this time, Professor Charles, who had been closing his eyes and slept, opened his eyes and looked at Chen Tian's back. "I discovered last night that I have psychic abilities." Chen Tian replied unexpectedly, "Are you sure you only have psychic abilities?" When Professor Charles heard this, the smile under his eyes became stronger. "I knew I couldn't escape your eyes." Chen Tian smiled helplessly, knowing that he must have escaped the telepathy of Professor Bu. After all, the other party has the smartest brain in the world, and it is only a matter of time before it is discovered. "Don't worry, they're all asleep." Professor Charles glanced at the sleeping Wanda siblings, both of whom fell into a deep sleep. Another variant of mine, capable of replicating anyone's abilities. Chen Qian pondered for a while, knowing that it was difficult to hide it anymore, so he simply chose to confess. Anyway, more and more abilities will be acquired in the future, and even if others do not say that sooner or later, they will detect this fact. Instead of being suspicious of each other, it is better to say it yourself. He then added, anyone's abilities can be replicated, not just mutants. So, you kid copied mine too? When Logan in the passenger seat heard this, he recalled Chen Qian's self-healing ability before, and suddenly realized when he heard this. He originally thought that Chen Qian himself had super self-healing ability, mainly because similar situations had also been reflected in other mutants. It's just that they are not as perverted as Uncle Wolf. It turned out that this kid copied his abilities. I'm curious if your ability is temporarily stored by imitation, or if it is completely copied as a part of yourself. When Professor Charles heard this, he asked with interest. Chen Qian smiled and did not speak again. You bastard is truly gifted. Professor Charles sensed Chen Qian's mind fluctuations and scolded with a smile. Logan next to him also got the answer from the communication between the two. Looking at Chen Qian's pupils flickering, the other party brought him too many surprises. Airplanes. However, at this time, Chen Qian's expression suddenly froze, a strong sense of crisis surged in, and the hand holding the steering wheel couldn't help but tighten, and his eyebrows revealed gloom. There are guests coming. Professor Charles also sensed something strange, and the smile on his face gradually faded. Next second, a roar of motorcycles came from far and near, and in more than 10 seconds, several figures riding motorcycles appeared in the forests on both sides of the path. Galloping through the trees to make the trees dance. Fuck, how did the FBI people find us? First chapter previous chapter 25 186 next,